Has legislation or any kind of laws been effective and beneficial to your farm in any way, and how?
So with the last legislative session at the state level, they passed a handful of bills targeted at like small and beginning farmers.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't make the cutoff. A young farmer or a beginning farmer is less than 10 years of experience. We were going into our 11th year.
Okay.
So there were some subsidies set up to get kind of reduce the barriers to entry.
Mm-hmm.
We've looked into them, but nothing's ever really been impactful to us.
Okay.
On that level. Maybe about 12 years ago, there was a Food Safety Modernization Act passed by Congress. But that gave, I believe, the FDA or the USDA just the authority to set up this rule system.
Okay.
And this is the first year that it affects us. It was a really long time rolling out. And when they were first proposing a lot of the rules, there was a lot of backlash with small farmers, and thought it was going to raise the barriers to entry for small farms.
Mm-hmm.
Things like testing your water 6 or 12 times a year, putting up deer fence, monitoring for one thing that was a little ridiculous. They want you to scout your fields every day for animal intrusion. If you find signs of an animal, you can't harvest from that area, like a 6-foot square area around that.
Mm-hmm. So does this make it tougher to do your job at all?
That that's a little outlandish. They ended up rolling a lot of these back, and now it's more compliance and record keeping. So they just wanted you to make sure that you're sanitizing your pack shed and keeping animals out of the field as the best you can, and things like that. So as much as I feared it probably 5 years ago as it was coming out, this is our first year having to do it, and probably it's just a little, I wouldn't say a ton of record keeping, but it's make your own plan and follow it. Mm-hmm. So it went from, we're going to tell you what to do, to, hey, here's some guidelines, why don't you guys think about it and keep track of it.
Okay.
I think it was like 88 people died of foodborne illness in like a 10-year span, which is completely out of sync. I don't know why they passed it. We're talking like 6 to 8, 10 deaths a year from foodborne illness.
Yeah.
And it's been like a huge government expenditure of time and resources.
Yeah.
So although it was like well intended, it's really just been clumsily rolled out, and maybe the fear was over exaggerated to what it actually kind of the repercussions of.
Okay.
But those are probably the two biggest things that have been on my radar as far as legislation.
Is there anything else that other farms across the country are negatively affected by or positively affected by that you may know of?
Well, I know that there's a lot of subsidies one way or another, whether it's tax breaks or dairy buyback programs, or such as I know lately they've been writing big farms checks for the hit from the trade war for some of the agricultural products.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we're talking, I think like $18 billion that they've been writing checks to farmers just for this, trade war. But it's not the small farmers that are getting it.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of government interference in a free market.
Okay.
That it's not really free trade.
Mm-hmm.
When the government's subsidizing sugar producers, and it's a very skewed market, and they're not out there to even the playing field for the little
question. Things like, well, this doesn't specifically apply to your field. The what are they pronounced, ag gag laws. Have you heard of them?
I have, I guess. I'm not sure what it is. That when they like sneak in and
The laws have been like there's like 5 states they've been passed in. Colorado's one of them, Utah's one of them, South Carolina and North Carolina maybe, and I forget the last one. But if you're pretty much like outsiders can't come in and take videos of like animal cruelty that's
Right.
going on inside of factories and stuff. What's your view on something like that?
I mean, I'm certainly for an open food system, and people should, there shouldn't be a curtain between the eater and the producer, but that's probably not the right way to go about it.
Yeah.
I'd like to see people take their food more seriously. I know the Wolf administration, like I said earlier, was going and trying to do some subsidies. Like one was they were going to give landowners who rented to beginning farmers like a 10% tax break on the rent that was generated.
Okay.
So they're trying to help out farmers. Or if a young farmer bought land, they were going to give them 10% back on the value of the land.
Okay.
It just gets so convoluted, It seems like legislations can be well intended, but when it's in practice, it just doesn't always
Yeah.
make a big impact.
Yeah.
So we're in the Chesapeake watershed, and I know that there's a lot of. They've asked the feds have asked the state's asked the local townships to start